the best of the week on Relevant Radio.
Well, the holy season of Lent is just over a week away now, and maybe you're ready and raring to go. Or maybe you're like I was, and the suitcases for your Lenten journey are lying empty on the floor. Might I suggest that we start packing now and not leave it until Ash Wednesday morning? Today on the show, we're talking about preparing for Lent, thinking about what we might do in the realms of prayer, fasting, and almsgiving so that we open that door for God to work as wide as we can. Back with us today as our spiritual director is Father Marcel Taillon. Father Taillon is the former director of vocations for the Archdiocese for the Military Services and now serves as the pastor of St. Thomas More Church in the Diocese of Providence, Rhode Island. Hello, Father. Thanks for being with us again.
Well, good morning, and great topic. Obviously timely in light of what time we're living in just before Lent. I always think it's helpful to kind of start praying and planning now. So I think it's a great topic, rightly framed for all of us. So thanks for doing that.
Yeah, well, thanks for being with us. And maybe start out by just reminding us, Father, what's the whole thought behind Lent? What's the purpose for Lent in our liturgical calendar?
Yeah, and so Lent, obviously the color purple comes back. It's a penitential season, and we remember we know and love Jesus Christ. So Jesus, right, went into the desert for 40 days, right? He was tempted by the devil. He fasted. He prayed, gave himself to us. So we're kind of doing what Jesus did. So before his mission, he had this, and it's a beautiful tradition in Catholics throughout the world. It's kind of basically a 40-day retreat that everyone gets on, and I do like it because obviously there's a lot of sacramentals involved, but it's really a time of year where people try to kind of holy up their lives. Like they'll actually think, gee, what can I do better? Where can I cut something out? Where can I fast or be more mindful of doing acts of charity? And I've had all kinds of people in my life, my parish, that do so many different things. So the great thing about Lent is that every year is a new Lent, and it's a new opportunity to be creative and to be challenging and to again, I know some people have given up things for Lent, and then it never came back in their life. It might have been something, even a habit or something, a vice they're trying to work on besides just giving up things, but trying to give up bad habits of like gossip or, other things like that too, or, sometimes part of the Lenten package. So Lent is a 40-day, really, and obviously it leads up to the most important week of the year. We call it Holy Week. Every week's holy, but Holy Week is unique, where we really enter into the Passion of Jesus Christ. We enter into Jerusalem with him, the readings at Mass. So Lenten is also to prepare us to enter into Holy Week and celebrate Easter. So we kind of all do it together, like the whole world, even other Christians have a great sense of Lent. So it's a very holy season. It's very sacred. And the great thing is we do it all together, but I love it because it's so unique. We can make it our own. And I think every year we need something different. The Lord wants to give us graces, and every year we're at a different place in life, no matter how many Lents we've had, few or a lot. I think this Lent will not be like, it's not the last Lent, it's this Lent, and we must need something else, and God desires to reveal himself to us. So it's kind of awesome because there's guidelines by the church, expectations, kind of laws, if you don't like that word, but guidelines and expectations is a good word on everyone that's of certain ages. But the great thing is Lent, someone can be 5 years old and participate in Lent well. Someone can be bedridden and participate in Lent. There's so many ways to do it that everyone can do Lent, and it's so personal that's what I like about it. It's an invitation to be creative, to be faithful, and to make it our own. And that's why we're doing this show today. What do we think the Lord wants us to have as a goal for Lent? And it's best not to decide Ash Wednesday. That would not be great. So this show's helping me get ready too. So I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. I like what you said there, Father, about specifically that Lent is unique for each person, and that each Lent that comes along needs to be at least a little bit different than the one before. So this is a little personal, but any thoughts about anything specific that you're doing this year for Lent?
Well, it's funny. I got to start praying about that. And there's something I've done for many years. I give up bread. So I only eat the Eucharist, and I love bread. So it became like sort of I try to be more supernaturally attracted to the Eucharist by not. I just love bread. So that means no pizza, no sandwiches. For me, I like something that reminds me of Lent a lot during the day, like breads at every meal pretty much. That's what I've done for years. Again, I And now I kind of, since I do Lent, I hardly eat bread anymore because of my Lenten practices, I think. It's always been like a Eucharistic idea behind it that making me hungry. Granted, the Eucharist is a little piece of Christ, but I've always found that was helpful to me. That's something I've done many, many years. And when I'm at Mass, I'm realizing the bread coming down the aisle is going to become Jesus, and it's the only bread I'm going to enjoy during Lent. So that's my own little thing I do. But
That's
other
amazing.
things, too, I
like that.
I think trying to, but in other words, we're not going to give up bread to lose weight. We're going to give up bread to be reminded of Jesus' sacrifice in the desert, his sacrifice on the cross, and does it increase in some tiny, puny way my desire to eat the host? And it at least supernaturally does. It makes me more mindful, of that. And I think I'm going to try to, I have one of my friends, all she does, she only does good things for Lent, and she doesn't fool around. Like, she does incredible acts of charity and visiting the sick and giving to the poor. And she doesn't give anything up, she gives, but she's not joking. Like, she's such a giver. She always says, random acts of charity for Lent, and she's over the top, like creative, and like, she doesn't let herself up. It's not like one little thing. And I think those kind of things, again, I know some people give up alcohol, they give up, desserts and cream in their coffee, or I prefer, this is me, we all have our own school of Lent. My school is, I like something that's kind of annoying, so I remember the Passion more often. I think something that's annoyingly reminding me of Lent,
Yes.
I prefer. I like something that annoys me to remember Lent and Jesus. So I'm into annoying penances. So people listening probably like, forget that. Hang up. Shut off Father T today on the radio. But I think the point is to remember Jesus, and I remember at our parish we have giveaways. One year we had a nail that everyone carried in their pockets. So you go to get your keys and you pull out this nail, and it was sort of an annoying reminder of the Passion, right? So I thought that was a cool thing that we did. So stuff like that, I think, I don't know, that's my school. We all have our own school. There's no right or wrong school. I think we just have to pray and be open to what these pillars are that we'd like to do.
John is calling in from Wheaton, Illinois. John, welcome to the program.
Oh, hi, guys. Listen, Father, I was calling to ask a question. I had heard somewhere, and I can't remember the source, but when we're selecting something to give up for Lent, it should be pleasing to God. And so I was kind of hoping you might be able to develop that a little bit. Could you help me on that?
Yeah, no, first of all, thanks for calling in and taking the time. I think, so pretty much as long as we're choosing something good and virtuous and holy, it will be pleasing to God. Like, what pleases God is the human heart, the humility with which we do prayer, fasting, and almsgiving. So virtually anything can be pleasing to God. We don't want to choose anything, of course, that's going to take us away from Christ, away from the church's teaching. Would it be good for an alcoholic to give up alcohol? Yes, except if they're so addicted and not in a program and they make that their Lent and they're not capable of that at the moment. That would be like almost a tragedy if they thought that they had to give up alcohol for God to love them, and then they fall down and fail. So not that that's not a great goal, again, with stuff like that, but kind of addictions or illnesses that everyone has in one way or another of some sort. Sometimes people a lot more crosses, and we have to be careful. But I think, honestly, I think it's a great insight. We want everything we do to be pleasing to God, to give him glory, to get closer to him, but that always happens, it's funny, right? But the reading on Ash Wednesday is always go to your room, close the door, and do like my Father in secret will see what you do. And where does the secret? He sees our heart, our thoughts. Like, we can't hide anything from God. So I think it's funny that the first reading at the first Ash Wednesday is always like, be humble, do it in secret a bit. Like, it doesn't mean we have to hide everything. We can talk about it. What can we inspire each other to think and be creative about? So, so I think it's a great point. Everything we should do should be pleasing to God, but God is the one that sees it. It pleases him if it's humble and it's sincere, and that's where the pleasure for God comes in. So great point, though. Great call.
Does that help?
It does, but it kind of leads to another question. So as opposed to giving up something, what about adding something? Going to the Stations of the Cross, not just on one Friday or Good Friday, which seems to always draw a crowd, but maybe consistently.
Sure.
No, I think that would be great, and I think giving time to prayer and pious practices is great. But I also think the vertical part of Lent, we're praying more, we're hopefully reading Scripture more, Rosary more, Stations more, Eucharist more, but the horizontal part of Lent, which we cannot negate, right? You love God, love your neighbor as yourself. But, we all have people in our lives, like widows, widowers that might be at home, people that are across the country. We know we should call them. We just don't get around to it. Someone's lost someone. We write them a card. We have a mass said for them. That's a beautiful act of charity to someone that, just needs to be they're thought of. In other words, time, if you have relatives in a nursing home and you just always think you should go and you never go, Lent's a good time to go. Lent is a time, I'm going to go see Auntie Martha, I'm going to go see her, even though it's an hour away, I'm going to make that my Saturday first week of Lent. And then next week, what else can I do like that? Maybe there's a neighbor on my street that just is in a bad way, and you drop off a little cake for them and a little scripture quote or something. In other words, maybe I would challenge, we don't want to make sure we're not just doing vertical things, but horizontal acts of charity are always good, because what do they take? We're giving time. When we give time and we give it, Jesus, I'm going to go see this person for you. I'm going to give you this visit. I'm going to go, think of the visitation, right? Mary and Elizabeth, all that time, 3 months together. We can do little visitations, not visiting someone, but having our own visitations for Lent. I think that's another great spirituality. And we kind of maybe have a goal that once a week we do intentionally go see someone that we know would really benefit from some company, some love, and some interest. So I would encourage all our listeners to do that as well, and I'm going to try to do that myself. And sometimes it can be a phone call. Once a week you call someone that you think needs a call, that you just, again, we all have a list. We really, sometimes the Lord puts these ideas. We know we should do something. We just don't have time. We don't think we have time to do it. Lent's a time to make time to do it.
Yeah, John, excellent point, excellent questions. Really appreciate you calling in. Thanks for that. And speaking of adding something, we had Jennifer email in. She's listening in Austin, Texas on 970 AM KIXL. And she says, good morning. 8 years ago for Lent, I had a goal to attend daily Mass at least once a week. I felt it was the best I could do while working full-time, raising children while they attend Catholic schools, and being committed to my husband and extended family. And then she writes, this practice has continued ever since that first year. While I may not make a daily Mass for whatever reason, I can make an intentional plan to attend adoration, participate in the Divine Mercy Chaplet with Drew or the Family Rosary Across America with Father Rocky, read a spiritual book, or even listening to relevant radio. Ultimately, what I finally learned is my growth started being in a relationship with God and making Him the priority for my time. And then this is her closing sentence, Father. I think this is really profound. When I make God my priority, the rest of the week simply works based on His will.
Well, if that's not a Lenten prescription for all of us.
Yeah, exactly, right?
I think she's got. Thank you so much. That's probably the best message of the show today, right? That's the message. That would be the most awesome Lent, right? You walk out of there with that and into Easter season the rest of your life. How great is that? So thanks for sharing that.
Hi, this is Patrick Conley. You can join me and listen on the Relevant Radio app to The Inner Life, live each weekday at 11 a.m. Central. And thanks for listening.